Hi, this is Kamera again. My first few minutes with God, day number 13, Job chapter 35 through 37. So we have Elihu talking to Job still. Remember, Elihu is upset with Job mainly because he feel like Job had said a lot of stuff against God. He accused God wrongly, and he feels that Job just went too far. Now, currently, as Job, what makes him think it's okay to stand before God claiming he is righteous. And then, what do you mean? What's the use of living a righteous life? Like, what's in it for me? He says, what benefit does God get? You living a sinner's life or doing good deeds? That affects humans. Humans are the one who benefit from that. He says wrong to say that God doesn't listen or that he isn't concerned. You say God doesn't respond to sinners and that and not greatly concerned about wickedness. He says, Job, you have spoken nonsense and you sound like a fool. That's what he tells Job. He says, God is mighty, but he does not despise anyone. He says God gets people attention. He commands them to turn from a life of evil. And he says if a person listens and obeys God, then God blesses them. If they refuse to listen to God, then it doesn't go well with them. He says God never ever take his eyes off the innocent. In fact, he exalts them. He told Job previously that, actually, he accused Job of being arrogant in the previous chapter. But now he tells Job, and you have to listen to what Elihu says. Elihu, the other three friends had basically tried to find fault with Job, and they made false accusations and assumptions about Job. That's not what Elihu is doing. Elihu is going by what Job has said. He said a lot of stuff that I believe led Elihu to believe that Job is arrogant. But he tells Job this here. He says, God is leading you, Job, from danger. That is why you're going through what you're going through. He says you're obsessed with whether the godless will be judged or will justice be upheld. Yes, Job, don't worry about that. It will be held. And he tells Job to watch out or he may be seduced by wealth. He says, don't let yourself be bribed into sin. And he says, be on guard. God sent this suffering to keep you from a life of evil. And he reminds Job that God is all powerful. And then he tells Job, when you think about all the stuff that Job said, all this whining and wailing and regretting his life, he tells him instead you should glorify the mighty works of God. You should sing songs of God, songs of praise to God. He says God is greater than we could ever understand. And then he talks about God's mighty presence and his power in the skies and in the weather. He says the clouds, he spends time talking about these things into more details about the clouds and the thunder, the lightning, the storm, how his presence is there and his power is in there and how he deals with people. Snow, ice, the rain, and the wind. He says those things, those elements, they do whatever God commands them to. And he uses them also to punish and to show his unfailing love. He also nourishes his people. Isn't that something? He makes sure that we eat and we're taken care of. God does. And he says, we cannot imagine the power of the Almighty, even though he is just and righteous. He does not destroy us. Now he can. He really can. The way people just turn their back on the way we disrespect him a lot of times, disregard him, ignore him. He can destroy us, but he doesn't. He doesn't use his power like that against us. Get destroy us, take his breath away, we all die. Anyway, his final words are, all who are wise, only the wise, all the wise shows God's reverence. That's what we should do if we're wise, show reverence to God. But guys, we got to pay attention to what was said by Elihu. We'll see what happens, see if he made any sense. Guys, that was day number 13, Job chapter 35 through 37. You have a God-filled, blessed day.